Hello class 10. This is our first ever geography class through this YouTube channel. So today we are going to start with agriculture 3 as because we have already finished part 1 and part 2. So in this chapter we will solely learn about the important cash crops which are grown in India. So first of all, let us have an idea about what are cash crops. So there is a slight difference between cash crop and food crop. That is, in case of food crops, the farmers are mainly growing the crops to fulfill the necessity of their family and the excess part is being sold. But in case of cash crops, the farmers are mainly producing to sell them in the market and to make money or to earn profit. Like we can give examples of a few one, like cotton and jute. They comes under the category of fiber crop. Tea, coffee, they're actually the beverage crop. And then we can also mention the oil seeds. Oil seeds can be edible like groundnut and they can be non-edible as well like castor, linseed and all that. Apart from all this, another important cash crop which is also grown in India is sugarcane. So now I hope all of you have got a fair idea about what is a cash crop. So now we will move on to the next section of our chapter, that is the most important cash crop. So in India, the most important cash crop or the most widely grown cash crop is cotton. Okay, because it has a huge domestic demand. Keeping in mind the climatic condition of our country, we can easily understand that. Now, this cotton is usually found in 3 varieties. Okay, the short staple, the medium staple and the long staple. So what about this staple? What is staple? Staple is nothing but the length of the fiber. Cotton is a fiber crop, so the length of the fiber is known as staple. So in case of short staple, the length of the fiber is from 16 to 19 millimeter. In medium, it's 19 to 22 millimeters. And in case of long staple, it is 22 to 27 millimeters. So obviously, we can understand that the long staple cotton is the superior variety. But this superior variety long staple cotton, because of the soil and climatic condition, India is not producing in large quantity. In India, we are mainly producing the short staple and the medium staple. So that's why we have to import long staple cotton every year from countries like Sudan and some other countries as well. Okay, now let us learn or let us move on to the next section of this chapter, that is the favorable climatic condition which are required for the growth of cotton. So the first thing that we have to mention that in India, cotton is grown as a kharif crop. So I suppose all of you know what is a kharif crop because we have already done that in agriculture 1. Crops which are grown with the help of the monsoon rain, they are known as kharif crop. Okay, so it is a kharif crop and we know, as because we have already done the chapter of soil, so we know that cotton grows best in black soil, but it can also be grown in alluvial soil or loamy soil. Next thing, the temperature. So in case of each and every crop, whether it is a food crop or it is a cash crop, for temperature and rainfall, we always observe a range. So in case of cotton, it is 21 to 27 degrees Celsius. Okay, but it cannot be grown in places where temperature is less than 19 degrees and it is more than 30 degrees Celsius. So we can say, though it is a kharif crop, but cotton requires a moderately high temperature. Very high temperature or moderately low temperature is not suitable for the growth of cotton plants. Now the next thing that we have to know, that is rainfall. So on an average 100 to 120 centimeters of rainfall is best for the cultivation of cotton, and that should be well distributed. But during the harvesting of the cotton balls, there should be bright sunshine. At that time, if it rains, then the entire crop will get spoiled, because we can easily understand, without being a student of geography, we can easily understand if cotton gets wet, it gets spoiled. So that is why during the time of harvesting, there should not be any rain. There should be bright sunshine at that time. Now, let us move to the next section, that is problems. So there are some problems related to cotton cultivation. The first thing that we can say, that this plant get easily affected by pests or insects. The most common type is known as boll weevil. This is the name of an insect which most commonly destroys or badly affects cotton plants if proper care is not taken. Next thing that we can say, during the entire cultivation process, that is from sowing the seed till harvesting, entire cotton cultivation procedure, at least 120 frost-free days are required. Because as I have already discussed, that cotton is such a plant that cannot withstand very less temperature. So there should not be any occurrence of frost during the entire cultivation process, or rather, in other words, we can say places which experiences frost, those places are not suitable for the cultivation of cotton. Now, the next thing, areas. Usually in India, the entire black soil zone, or the entire portion of India where black soil is available, is very good for the cultivation of cotton. So in that way, we can say places like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu are the prominent areas where cotton cultivation is done. Now, uses. So we all know the uses. Okay, we need not have to be very specific. Rather, I need not have to be very specific about the uses. All of us know the uses, but just as because it is there in the syllabus, so I'm just mentioning it shortly. Mainly used for clothing, but it can also be used for bed linen, cartons and all that. The oil which is extracted from the seed, that can be used for making cosmetics, and the leftover husk can be used as cattle feed. Okay. Now, last but not the least, a very important procedure known as ginning, that we have to know, which is associated with cotton cultivation. It is nothing but it is a process of separating the fiber of cotton from the cotton seeds. So this specific procedure is known as ginning. Okay. So here we have completed whatever we are supposed to know from cotton. We have completed that. Now we will move on to the next important fiber crop which is grown in India, that is nothing but jute. Okay. So we can say that this is the second important fiber crop after cotton, and just like cotton, this is also a kharif crop, or this one is also grown with the help of the monsoon rain. Achha, now the growing condition. Temperature on an average we can say 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Rainfall at least 160 to 200 centimeters. Jute is such a crop which requires huge amount of rainfall. If adequate rainfall is not available, then the farmers have to arrange for irrigation. And the best soil for jute cultivation is the alluvial soil. Now, regarding the areas, we can say in India, mainly the Gangetic West Bengal and Brahmaputra Valley of Assam is best for jute cultivation. Other than these two places, there are hardly any places where jute is cultivated in India. Now, regarding the uses of jute, usually or traditionally, it was used only for making gunny bags or sack for carrying goods or for transporting goods from one place to another. But now, as because government is trying to revive the jute industry, so the uses have also been different kind of modern use has also been came. Okay, like jute, now jute is used for making garments, cartons, canvases for drawing portraits and all that. Now, just like cotton, in case of cotton, we came to know about a new method, that is ginning. Similarly, in case of jute, we have to know about another method which is known as retting. It is a very important procedure. Why? Because the fiber, unless and until the farmers they follow this procedure, it is very difficult for them to take out the fiber from the jute stem. Okay, so it is a microbiological process, and in this case, first of all, the jute plants, they are cut, the leaves are separated from the stems are tied up in bales, and they are soaked in stagnant water for about 3 to 4 weeks. So during this time, 3 to 4 weeks, because of the activities of different microorganisms, the jute fibers become softened or get softened, and the farmers can easily separate them from the stem. Okay, so these are the most important or two important fiber crops of India. You will get the name of another fiber crop in your textbook, that is mesta. We need not have to learn any details about mesta. It is an inferior and coarse kind of fiber. You just know the name, that is the thing, that is all about. Okay, so now after completing the fiber crops, we will learn about the beverages which are grown in India. And as we all know, the most important beverage crop of India is tea. Usually, we can find three kind of tea or three varieties of tea are grown in India. The first one is the green tea. We all know about that. It is very common nowadays for its health properties. It has got multiple benefits. The black tea, which is used for since very ancient time. Almost all of us every morning we prefer to have a cup of this kind of tea. But the third one, which is known as oolong tea, is little bit uncommon to us. Obviously, it is uncommon to us because we are not consuming this. People who are living in very cold areas, especially in the monasteries in hills, they are using this tea. So that is why we don't know much about this. So, but this is also another variety which is grown in India. Now, regarding the growing condition, and the first thing that we have to know, that is the temperature. So the temperature ranges 20 to 28 degrees Celsius, rainfall 150 to 200 centimeters, and it should be well distributed throughout the year. Why? Because in case of tea, the thing that we require is the leaves. Okay, so if the trees or the plants, tea plants, they are getting rainfall only in a particular season, but the rest of the year is dry, then the quality of the leaves will deteriorate. So that is why tea can be grown in those areas only where this amount of not only this amount of rainfall is available, but it is distributed throughout the year. It is not that rainfall is concentrated only for 2 to 3 months. and the rest of the year is dry. No, it is not possible to grow tea in that kind of a place. Now the next thing, that is soil. So we can say well-drained, friable, loamy soil is best for the cultivation of tea with lot of nitrogen in it. Now another specific thing for tea cultivation, that is the land. So gently sloping land is ideal for tea. Okay, so sometimes they are giving a question in ICSE, a give reason kind of question in ICSE, that why tea and coffee they are grown in hill slopes. So sometimes the students are writing they are grown on hill slopes because they require less temperature. No, not at all. So as we have already seen the temperature range, it is 20 to 28 degrees Celsius in case of tea, and in case of coffee also it's more or less same. So we cannot say that it is they are grown on hill slopes because they require less temperature. 20 to 28 degrees Celsius is not less temperature. They are grown on hill slopes because though tea and coffee, both of them, they require very high rainfall, but the plants cannot withstand stagnant water near the roots. Okay, so if they are being grown on flat lands and this amount of rainfall is available there, so there is a chance of stagnation of water nearby the roots, and that will spoil the trees. So for that matter, they are ideally grown on hill slopes. Okay, so now the next thing that we have to know, the areas. So we know that our Darjeeling tea, or there is a place in West Bengal, in the northern part of West Bengal, there is a district that is Darjeeling. It is famous all over the world, not only in India. Darjeeling tea is famous all over the world for its flavor. So West Bengal is one of the prominent places growing tea. Another place is Assam, where Assam tea is also famous for its liquor. Another place, that is the Kangra Valley of Himachal Pradesh. So these are the important producers of tea in India. Now, the next thing that we have to know, see, when the tea leaves are plucked, we just cannot boil them and can have a cup of tea. No, it requires different stages of processing like plucking, withering, drying, fermenting, sorting. So all these processes are involved in the processing of tea. So what is plucking? That we all know. It's simply taking out the leaves from the plants. What about withering? Withering is nothing but the tea leaves, they are placed in hot trays and they are passed through some machines to remove the excess moisture from it. Why we need to remove excess moisture? Because we can store tea for many months. Okay, so if moisture is present in tea leaves, we won't be able to store them, and the fragrance or the flavor or the aroma, whatever you can say, that will also get spoiled. So after withering, they are dried, then they are fermented. Why? Fermentation is required because otherwise it will give a very bad taste. Okay, last but not the least, the tea leaves, they are sorted out according to their quality, because the quality of tea determines its price. Okay, now a few more things are there that we need to know regarding tea cultivation. Okay, so one of them is fine plucking. So what is fine plucking? So it is a method of plucking the tea leaves where usually 2 leaves and a bud is collected, because in that way we can get the best variety of tea, and usually female workers are employed for fine plucking because it is considered to be a delicate job. That is why female workers are employed for plucking the tea leaves. Now the next thing is pruning. So what is pruning? it is a method of cutting the branches of the tea plant, okay, so that the planters can restrict the height of the plants up to 1 to 1.5 meters. Why? There are two purposes behind pruning. First one is, if we are not allowing the trees to gain height, then obviously their branches will increase, lateral branches will increase, and that will give us more leaves, which are the most required things for tea plants. And another thing is that, as because female workers are employed for collecting the tea leaves, if the trees are very tall, then it will be not convenient for the female workers to pluck the leaves. So not only it gives us more leaves, but the height also remains convenient for the female workers to pluck the leaves. Okay. Now the next thing, that is blending. Blending is mixing, right? See, we know that Darjeeling tea is famous, world famous for its flavor, and Assam tea for its liquor. As India has a huge market, worldwide huge market, Indian tea has got a huge market in the entire world. So we must maintain the quality. Okay. So blending is necessary so that Indian tea, a cup of Indian tea can give a nice flavor along with a good liquor. Okay. So that is why blending is necessary for tea before it being sold. Now another thing that we have to know, which is known as clone planting or clonal planting. This may be a little bit new to you people, but let us see what is it. Okay. So this is the most important and most effective method of propagating tea or growing tea. So in this method, a small branch is being cut from a high yielding mother plant, and it is incorporated or tied up with a young plant. Okay, so that the qualities, the genetic qualities of the mother plant goes into the young plant. Okay, this is nothing but a procedure of tissue grafting.